In this video, I'm going to be making a 2-row horizontal buttonhole. 2 rows because in the first row I'll bind off a few stitches where I want the buttonhole to be, and then when I flip it around to do the next row, I'll cast on a few stitches to bridge the gap. I'm using a swatch of 2x2 ribbing with the idea that this would be part of a button band where I've picked up stitches on the side of a cardigan sweater. So even though the buttonhole will be horizontal to the direction I'm knitting, on a sweater it will appear vertical. Here I've already worked the first row up to where I want the buttonhole. I've just done 2 knit stitches and want to bind off the 2 purl stitches that follow. Actually, I'm going to end up binding off 3 purl stitches because right now I'm going to create an extra one by doing a make one left increase, where I lift a stitch from 2 rows below the row I'm currently doing. I always want my left-hand needle to go into the front of stitches, which I could do if this were a column of purl stitches, but since these are knit stitches, I have to pick it up from the back. Knitters usually deal with a stitch being reversed by working it through the back loop, but I find it easier to just turn the stitch around by temporarily placing it on the right-hand needle so that I can then insert the left-hand needle into the front. Now I'll bring the working yarn down so I can purl this new stitch. Then I'll purl the next stitch so I can bind off the previous one. In case anyone is interested, I'll leave a link to my basic bind off video in the description below. After working the third purl stitch, I can bind off the second one. Rather than now working the next stitch, which is a knit, so that I can bind off the third purl stitch, I'm going to place the next stitch unworked onto the right-hand needle, bind off the third purl stitch, then put the unworked stitch I moved back onto the left-hand needle so I can knit it. And now I just work the rest of the first row. Let's speed up the video a bit. So here you can see that my buttonhole will be where there are 2 columns of purl stitches, and that there will be 2 columns of knit stitches on either side of the buttonhole. Here I've flipped it around and I've started working the second row. Seen from this side, the buttonhole will be where there are 2 columns of knit stitches. There are 2 more purl stitches to do before I reach the gap where I bound off stitches on the other side, so I'll work those. Now to cast on new stitches to bridge the gap, I have to turn back to the side where I did the first row. For a cable cast on, which is what I'm going to do, a lot of knitters will insert the right-hand needle between 2 stitches from the front. Since I'm doing this Portuguese style, I find it easier to insert the needle between 2 stitches from the back. Then I use my thumb to wrap the working yarn counterclockwise around the needle, and I pull the loop through as if I were purling. Then I put it onto the left-hand needle by inserting the left-hand needle from the same direction as the right-hand needle. So now I've cast on 1 new stitch. Let's do that 2 more times. Even though my buttonhole is only going to be 2 stitches wide, I'm going to cast on 3. There's the second one. And the third one. So now I'm done casting on 3 new stitches. Now I turn everything around back to the other side where I was only halfway finished working the second row. With the working yarn coming over the top of the right-hand needle, I transfer the extra cast-on stitch onto the left-hand needle, bring the working yarn down, and purl 2 stitches together. Then I finish the row following the regular 2x2 ribbing pattern. After working a few more rows, I took photos of the same buttonholes seen from both sides. If you want the buttonhole to look like the photo on the left, then work the first row on a wrong side. If you want the buttonhole to look like the second photo, then work the first row on the right side. That's it for buttonholes. I hope this video was helpful. Thanks for watching.